Knights Templar, officially known as the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and the Temple of Solomon, emerged as a significant military order within the Catholic Church during the Middle Ages. Founded around 1119, the Templars were instrumental in the Crusades, operating from their base on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Initially, they received extensive support and amassed considerable wealth and influence through donations, bequests, and land acquisitions across Europe. However, as the Crusades lost momentum and the Templars struggled to maintain their territories in the Holy Land, their popularity declined. Rumours and accusations began to surface, particularly regarding their secret initiation ceremonies and the inconsistencies surrounding their increasing wealth. As an elite fighting force, the Knights Templar were known for their rigorous training, superior equipment, and unwavering dedication to their mission. Their religious convictions deeply influenced their military ethos, emphasizing bravery, discipline, and self-sacrifice. The Templar ranks consisted of 3 distinct classes, each with specific roles in the Order's mission. At the highest level were the Knights, warrior monks who formed the core combat force. Sworn to poverty and obedience, they wore white robes, symbolizing purity, and led the charge in battle. They adhered to strict rules, including celibacy, financial austerity, and absolute loyalty to the Order. Templar priests, dressed in green robes, handled essential religious duties such as conducting ceremonies, leading prayers, and maintaining records. They also provided spiritual guidance to the Order's members and often served as moral beacons during frequent conflicts. The mounted men-at-arms, known as brothers, made up the largest segment of the Templar Order. These individuals, wearing black or brown robes, performed various roles from guarding and stewardship to squire duties. They were responsible for logistical support, ensuring the knights were well equipped and supported on the battlefield. The Templars' military effectiveness was further enhanced by their well-trained war horses, which were outfitted with armour and trained specifically for combat. This combination of skilled warriors, disciplined monks, and formidable steeds made the Knights Templar a formidable force wherever they went. Additionally, their belief in martyrdom as a noble death instilled them with unparalleled courage and determination in the face of adversity. The Battle of Montgisard in 1177 is a testament to the tactical skill and bravery of the knights, who, despite being vastly outnumbered, achieved a remarkable victory against Saladin's formidable forces. Saladin, the renowned Muslim military leader, aimed to advance toward Jerusalem with an army of 26,000 soldiers. King Baldwin IV of Jerusalem, along with about 500 knights and their supporters, found themselves cornered near the coastal town of Ascalon, facing overwhelming odds. Amidst this dire situation, a small contingent of 80 Templar knights, accompanied by their entourage, attempted to reinforce the besieged forces. As Saladin's army approached, the Templars, aware of their numerical disadvantage, chose a strategic approach. They met Saladin's troops at Gaza, but were considered too insignificant to engage, prompting Saladin to disregard them and continue his march toward Jerusalem. Taking advantage of Saladin's decision to disperse his forces for pillaging, the Templars acted swiftly. They joined King Baldwin's army and embarked on a daring march northward along the coast. Meanwhile, Saladin's scattered and unprepared troops fell victim to a surprise ambush orchestrated by the Templars near Montgisard, close to Ramla. The Templars' bold assault caught Saladin's forces off guard, disrupting their cohesion and making them vulnerable to attack. Despite their numerical superiority, Saladin and his troops were overwhelmed by the relentless assault of the Templars provided the Kingdom of Jerusalem with a crucial year of respite. The Templars' valiant stand at Montgisar became legendary, celebrated for their heroism and military prowess. Despite their limited numbers, the Templars often played crucial roles in major battles, either leading the charge or providing critical support from the rear. Their participation extended beyond the Holy Land, fighting alongside renowned leaders such as King Louis VII of France and King Richard III of England, famously known as Richard the Lionheart. Beyond their endeavours in Palestine, the Knights Templar were actively involved in the Spanish and Portuguese Reconquista campaigns. One significant event was the Siege of Tomar in 1190, where Templar knights displayed their exceptional combat skills, aiding the Christian efforts to reclaim Iberian territories from Islamic rule. After receiving official papal endorsement, the Templars evolved from a humble monastic order into a respected charity throughout Europe. This elevated status garnered them substantial resources and financial support from various European sources. A significant revenue stream came from new members who, upon taking vows of poverty, often donated large sums of money or property, further enhancing the order's wealth. The Templars also engaged in profitable business ventures that contributed to their financial success. Their trusted international network made them the preferred custodians of wealth for nobles embarking on journeys, such as joining the Crusades. This arrangement ensured financial security for the nobles, allowing them to safeguard their assets until their return. Initially, the Knights Templars' mission was to protect pilgrims travelling to the Holy Land from attacks. By 1150, the Templars had expanded their role to include pioneering a system of issuing letters of credit. Pilgrims would deposit their valuables at a Templar house in their home country and receive a letter detailing their holdings. This encrypted letter served as a form of security for the pilgrims. The Templars' innovative system allowed pilgrims to withdraw funds from their accounts at various Templar establishments along their journey, sparing them the risk of carrying valuable possessions. This system not only ensured the safety of pilgrims, but also increased the Templars' influence and economic power. As their banking activities grew, the Templars became key players in finance, laying the groundwork for modern banking practices. Despite the Church's prohibition against usury, the Templars engaged in lending through clever loopholes. Instead of charging interest directly, they devised agreements to retain rights to the production of mortgaged property, effectively charging rent instead of interest. This approach is akin to Sharia-compliant banks in the Islamic world, which charge fees to service loans rather than calling it interest. The Templars' vast land holdings were crucial for sustaining their military campaigns, as the cost of maintaining a knight increased significantly over time, requiring extensive land and resources. The order amassed considerable estates to support their operations. For example, by 1180, a Burgundian noble needed 3 square kilometres of land to sustain himself as a knight, a figure that rose to 15.6 square kilometres by 1260. Additionally, the Templars supported thousands of horses and pack animals, with maintenance costs exacerbated by the harsh conditions of the Crusader states in the eastern Mediterranean. Despite these challenges, the Templars' shrewd political connections and understanding of commercial dynamics propelled them to immense power. Remarkably adept at accumulating wealth, despite their vows of poverty, they acquired large tracts of land across Europe and the Middle East, constructed churches and castles, purchased agricultural properties, engaged in manufacturing, and controlled significant import and export operations. Their influence extended to the maritime domain as they maintained their own fleet of ships. At one point, they even governed the entire island of Cyprus, showcasing their authority and wealth, which inevitably attracted both admiration and unwanted scrutiny. The Knights Templar's extraordinary success and growing influence inevitably aroused concerns among rival orders and various nobles across Europe and the Middle East. Among their most formidable competitors were the Knights Hospitaller and the Teutonic Knights, both vying for prestige, resources, and territory. The Knights Hospitaller, also known as the Order of Hospitaller, shared a similar mission with the Templars in providing medical care and protection to pilgrims in the Holy Land. Initially cooperating with the Templars, the competition for resources and influence eventually led to tensions between the two orders. Likewise, the Teutonic Knights, initially established to provide medical assistance during the Crusades, evolved into a formidable military order focused on expanding Christian territory in the Baltic region. Their ambitions often clashed with those of the Templars, especially in areas where their spheres of influence overlapped. In addition to rivalry from other orders, the Templars faced scrutiny and apprehension from various nobles and monarchs. Some nobles expressed concern over the Templars' considerable wealth and financial power, fearing that their economic influence could undermine traditional power structures. Furthermore, the Templars' status as an independent military force, accountable only to the Pope and God, raised suspicions among rulers who sought to maintain control over their territories. The Battle of the Horns of Hattin in 1187 marked a significant setback for the Templars and the Crusader states. Under the leadership of Grand Master Gerard de Riedefort, the Templars suffered a devastating defeat against Saladin's forces. Gerard de Riedefort's lack of strategic acumen, combined with poor decisions such as venturing into the arid hill country without adequate supplies, led to the Templars being overcome by the heat and eventually surrounded and massacred by Saladin's army. This defeat paved the way for Saladin's capture of Jerusalem, dealing a severe blow to the Crusaders' cause. Despite this setback, the Templars rebounded. In the early 1190s, Richard the Lionheart, King of England and a leader of the Third Crusade, embarked on a remarkable campaign alongside his Templar allies. Through a series of decisive military actions, Richard and the Templars managed to recapture significant portions of Christian territory from Saladin. Despite the diminished size and influence of the Crusader states, particularly with the relocation of the Kingdom of Jerusalem's capital to Acre, the Third Crusade succeeded in preserving Christian control in the region. The military orders, including the Templars, played a crucial role in the defence of Crusader states during this period. Their formidable castles served as strongholds against Muslim advances, while their expertise in warfare bolstered the Frankish forces on the battlefield. As a result, the power and influence of the Templars reached new heights in the aftermath of the Third Crusade, solidifying their position as key players in the defence of Christian interests in the Holy Land. Following the siege of Acre in 1291, the Templars faced the necessity of relocating their headquarters from the Holy Land to the island of Cyprus. Jacques de Molay, who assumed the role of the Order's Grand Master around 1292, undertook significant efforts to rally support for the Templars and organise another crusade. He embarked on a tour across Europe to garner backing for his order. During his travels, he met with Pope Boniface VIII, who agreed to grant the Templars similar privileges in Cyprus as they had enjoyed in the Holy Land. Additionally, Charles III of Naples and Edward offered various forms of support to the Templars, ranging from exemptions from taxes to pledges for future assistance in building a new army. These pledges of support were crucial for the Templars, as they sought to regroup and maintain their influence despite their loss of territory in the Holy Land. However, their efforts to organise another crusade faced significant challenges amidst the changing dynamics of European politics and the waning enthusiasm for further military expeditions to the east. In 1298, the military orders, including the Knights Templar, Knights Hospitaller, and forces from Cyprus, launched a campaign in Armenia to repel a Mamluk invasion. Despite their efforts, they failed to achieve success, and the fortress of Rochefort in the Belen Pass, the last Templar stronghold in Antioch, fell to the Muslims. Following this setback, the Templars, Hospitallers, and Cypriot forces attempted to recapture the coastal city of Tortosa in 1300. Although they managed to seize the island of Arwad near Tortosa, their control was short-lived. The loss of Arwad marked the end of the Crusaders' presence in the Holy Land, as it was their last foothold in the region. Despite retaining a base of operations in Cyprus and possessing significant financial resources, the Templars found themselves without a clear purpose and lacking widespread support. This precarious situation ultimately contributed to their downfall, making them increasingly vulnerable to external pressure and internal strife. King Philip IV of France harboured deep suspicions toward the Templars, fearing they might be plotting to establish a sovereign monastic state similar to the Teutonic Knights in Prussia. His concerns were compounded by the Templars' support for a coup on the island of Cyprus in 1306, which resulted in the abdication of King Henry II in favour of his brother Amalric. Additionally, Philip inherited land in Champagne, France, where the Templars had their headquarters. The order was perceived as a state within a state, enjoying considerable wealth, exemption from taxes, and maintaining a large standing army capable of freely traversing European borders, despite having lost much of their presence in the Holy Land. This situation threatened many monarchies, as the Templars' power resembled that of an independent entity, much like the East India Company in later centuries. The Templars, a highly trained group of warriors with no one left to fight, now posed a potential threat to established power structures. On the ominous date of Friday, October 13th, 1307, scores of French Templars were simultaneously arrested by King Philip's agents. They were subsequently subjected to torture, particularly at locations like the Tower at Chinon, to coerce confessions of heresy and sacrilege within the order. These confessions, obtained under duress, led to their execution. In our modern day, we know that confessions extracted through torture are unreliable, but this was not the modern day, and King Philip was just looking for an excuse. The charges against the Templars escalated on August 12th, 1308, with increasingly outrageous allegations. At this point, the charges were fabricated, aiming to turn public opinion against the Templars. Among the accusations were worshipping idols, including a cat and a head with 3 faces, a very avant-garde concept. The list of charges against the Knights Templar continued to expand, encompassing accusations of denying Christ, desecrating the cross, and engaging in devil worship. These allegations shocked many Templars who had dedicated their lives to the opposite. During the trials in Paris, numerous Templars confessed to these allegations, including denying Christ and participating in obscene rituals. However, these confessions were extracted through torture, and there was no physical evidence or independent witnesses to substantiate the claims. Despite the Templars reaching out to Pope Clement for assistance, the Pope's response was limited, as he was largely under King Philip's influence. Their pleas for help from the papacy ultimately proved futile in the face of the political and religious motivations driving the French monarchy's actions. The forced confessions ignited a scandal in Paris, leading to public outrage and demands for action against the alleged blasphemous conduct of the order. This public pressure and King Philip's concerns prompted Pope Clement to issue the bull Pastoralis Preeminentiae instructing all Christian monarchs in Europe to arrest the Templars and seize their assets. At this point, the fate of the Templars seemed sealed. While most monarchs were sceptical of the charges, legal proceedings were initiated across various regions, including the British Isles, Iberia, the Kingdom of Germany, the Italian Peninsula, and Cyprus. The likelihood of obtaining confessions largely depended on whether torture was employed during interrogation. King Philip, motivated by jealousy of the Templars' wealth and power, as well as his substantial indebtedness to them, likely fabricated false charges against the order. At the assembly in 1308, it is widely doubted that Philip genuinely believed these accusations, which closely mirrored those made against Pope Boniface VII. Many historians argue that Philip orchestrated these charges to seize the Templars' financial resources for his own benefit. Notably, Philip had even invited Jacques de Molay, the Grand Master of the Templars, to serve as a pallbearer at a funeral just before the arrests, suggesting a premeditated betrayal. The arrests of the Templars had far-reaching effects on the European economy, prompting a shift away from the Templars' monastic banking system and a return to more traditional monetary practices. The fate of the Templars also influenced the Hospitallers of St. John of Jerusalem and Rhodes, leading them to relinquish their banking activities. In 1312, under intense pressure from King Philip IV, the Council of Vienne led Pope Clement V to issue an edict officially dissolving the order of the Knights Templar. Monarchs and nobles who had previously supported the Templars complied with the papal command, dissolving their orders within their territories, while some rulers, such as those in England, arrested and tried Templars only to find them not guilty. Most Templar properties outside France were transferred to the Hospitallers. Surviving Templars were often absorbed into the ranks of the Hospitallers in regions where rulers resisted transferring Templar assets to the Hospitallers. In Aragon, for instance, the assets were given to the Order of Montesa. In Portugal, the Templar Order continued under a new name, the Order of Christ. This group played a significant role in the early maritime explorations of Portugal, with Prince Henry, the Navigator, leading the order for 2 decades until his death. Despite the absorption of many Templars into other orders, questions remained about the fate of the tens of thousands of Templars across Europe. The hundreds of Templars arrested in France represented only a small fraction of the estimated 3,000 Templars in the country. Furthermore, the extensive archive of the Templars, containing detailed records of their business holdings and financial transactions, was never recovered. According to papal decree, these records were supposed to be transferred to the Knights Hospitaller, but their whereabouts remain unknown. A theory suggests that the Knights Templar used a fleet of 18 ships at La Rochelle to escape arrest in France, based primarily on the testimony of a serving brother named Jean de Chalon. According to his testimony, Jean de Chalon heard rumours that Gérard de Villiers had set sail with 18 galleys, along with the treasury of another Templar named Hugues de Payan, just before the arrest warrant was issued for the order in October 1307. However, this testimony is considered hearsay and is the sole source for this claim. Moreover, Jean de Chalon has been noted for making sensational and potentially unreliable statements about the order, casting doubt on his credibility. The charges against the Knights Templar included a broad range of accusations, typical of those made during the medieval Inquisition. These accusations included acts such as trampling on, spitting on, and urinating on the cross, engaging in obscene rituals while naked, worshipping idols, and practicing sodomy. Some Templars admitted to these acts under torture, including the worship of an idol known as Baphomet. However, we know that these confessions are not reliable. The specific accusation of head worship, unique to the Templars, has garnered particular attention. The descriptions of the head allegedly venerated varied significantly, leading some scholars to speculate that it might have been linked to medieval folklore about magical heads or rituals involving relics. Most of the accusations centred around a three-faced head. The charges against the Templars remain a subject of debate, with few scholars giving them much credence. In recent years, there has been a new twist to the Templar saga. In September 2001, Barbara Frail discovered the Chinon parchment in the Vatican's secret archives. Dated August 17th, 1308, this document revealed that Pope Clement V had absolved the leaders of the order in 1308. Frail's findings, published in the Journal of Medieval History in 2004, drew significant attention from historians and scholars. In 2007, the Vatican published the Chinon parchment as part of a limited edition of 799 copies of Asterisk, Processus, Contra, Templarios, Asterisk. This publication provided broader access to the document, allowing researchers to analyse its contents and implications further. Another Chinon parchment, dated August 20th, 1308, and addressed to Philip IV of France, confirmed the absolution granted to all Templars who had confessed to heresy. This document stated that they were restored to the sacraments and the unity of the Church. These discoveries have prompted reassessments of the Templar trials and raised questions about the validity of the accusations, providing evidence of the papal absolution of the Templar leaders and suggesting that the trials were politically motivated. Of course, you don't need a Chinon parchment to tell you that. The story of the Templars is far from over. The 2001 discovery shows that the narrative can always take unexpected turns, even 7 centuries later. Perhaps hidden within the Vatican's secret archives lies another document, artifact, or relic that could alter the story once again. The history of the Knights Hospitaller traces back to the early years of the Order of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem, later known as the Knights Hospitaller. Formed in the 11th century, the Hospitallers played a significant role in the Kingdom of Jerusalem during the Crusades, alongside other military orders such as the Knights Templar and the Teutonic Knights. Initially focused on providing care for pilgrims, the Hospitallers evolved into a formidable military force dedicated to safeguarding pilgrim routes. Under the leadership of figures like Gerard and Raymond Dupuy, they earned papal recognition in 1113 and became known for their distinctive white cross. Raymond Dupuy, 1083 to 1160, was a French knight who succeeded Gerard as the second Grand Master of the Order, serving from around 1122 or 1123 until 1160. Little is known about Raymond's role in the Order before assuming the magisterium. His first official act was recorded on December 9th, 1124. During his early years as Grand Master, the Order focused primarily on its social mission. Raymond divided the members of the Order into clerical, military, and serving brothers, and established the first significant hospitaller infirmary near the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. He also engaged in the Order's business affairs, mainly conducted in Spain at the time. Raymond is credited with giving the Hospitallers their first statutes, believed to have been composed around 1130. The rule of the Hospitallers predates 1153, as it was approved by Pope Eugene III after 1145, but before 1153, specifically on July 7th, before his death. This marked the official establishment of the Hospitallers as a proper order, just like the Teutonic Knights and the Knights Templar. From 1135 to 1154, the order enjoyed an exemption from local religious authorities. Additionally, Raymond introduced the order's Great Seal, used from the 12th century until 1798. This seal depicted the Grand Master kneeling in prayer before the patriarchal cross on the obverse, accompanied by the sacred letters Alpha and Omega, symbolizing the second coming of Christ. Raymond Dupuy is depicted in several paintings housed in the Salles des Croisades, the Hall of Crusades in the Château de Versailles in France. Alexandre Lemlin's full-length portrait of Raymond Dupuy is displayed in the third room of the hall and is quite a sight to see. Additionally, two battle scenes featuring Raymond Dupuy in military action in Syria around 1130 are depicted in the following room. These paintings highlight Raymond's significant role as Grand Master of the Hospitallers during the Crusades. The First Crusade ended with the capture of Jerusalem in 1099, but it took until 1104 to fully secure Acre. During the early Crusader years in Acre, the Hospitallers received several donated properties. In 1110, Baldwin of Jerusalem granted them permission to construct a commandery north of the Sancho Church. However, in 1130, due to damage sustained during work at the church, the Hospitallers relocated near the city's north wall, establishing the commandery of Sancho d'Acre. In 1127, the Hospitallers received their first castle, Kaft, from the Count of Tripoli, which they held until the Ayyubids seized it in 1207. By 1149, the Hospitaller commandery in Acre was described by many pilgrims as a highly impressive fortified building. In 1143, Pope Celestine II granted the Hospitallers authority over St. Maria Alemana, a hospital founded in 1128 for German pilgrims and crusaders. While formerly under Hospitaller jurisdiction, the Pope decreed that the prior and brothers of the Domus Teutonicorum, House of the Germans, should always be Germans. This tradition eventually led to the formation of the Teutonic Order in 1190. Raymond Dupuy also managed the leprosarium outside Jerusalem, later known as the Order of St. Lazarus, serving as its seventh Grand Master shortly before his death. Around 1156, a conflict arose between Raymond and Fulk of Angers, the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem. Fulk accused the Hospitallers of various religious infractions and personal affronts, including outshining the Holy Sepulchre with the grandeur of their buildings. The conflict escalated when the Hospitallers, responding to Fulk's complaints, invaded the Holy Sepulchre with an armed force. Seeking redress, Fulk appealed to Pope Adrian IV, requesting the revocation of a papal bull that confirmed the order's prerogatives. Fulk travelled to Rome in 1155, but the case resulted in endless debates, offering no resolution upon his return to Jerusalem later that year. Under Raymond Dupuy's leadership, the Knights Hospitaller shifted toward a more military role. An act dated January 17th, 1126, marks the first mention of a constable of the Hospitallers named Durand, who held military responsibilities. It is unclear if Durand was a member of the order or simply hired by the Hospitallers, but this development occurred 2 years before the formation of the Templars. The rising influence of the Templars also contributed to the Hospitallers' increased military focus. Depictions from the 19th century in the Salles des Croisades show Raymond in battle as early as 1130. The Hospitallers' military role is exemplified by their involvement in constructing and operating the Crusader castle at Beth Gibelin. Built by Fulk of Jerusalem in 1135 to fortify the kingdom, the castle was donated to the Hospitallers in 1136. Following the Templars' example, Raymond instituted protections for pilgrims by providing security for their travels to holy sites. He also hired knights and men-at-arms as mercenaries and participated through intermediaries in the kingdom's defence. By 1154, Pope Anastasius IV granted the order a category of brother priests, although physicians didn't appear among the order's medical personnel until the statutes of 1184. The military aspect was formalised earlier with the recognition of brothers-in-arms since 1160, making the order a legally recognised religious military order. Starting in 1137, the Hospitallers became active participants in the Kingdom of Jerusalem's military campaigns against its adversaries. Ascalon, strategically located on the coast en route to Egypt, posed a constant threat to the Christians, prompting continuous raids into the southern part of the kingdom. Acting on Fulk's advice, the Franks decided to fortify Ibn Akkar, a Hospitaller-held site east of Ascalon. The urgent task of fortification was overseen by Latin Patriarch William of Milan, who entrusted it to the Hospitallers, positioning them at the forefront of the defence against the Egyptians. By the time of the Second Crusade in 1147, the Hospitallers had become a formidable force in the kingdom, and the Grand Master's political clout had significantly increased. At the Council of Acre in June 1148, Raymond Dupuy was among the leaders who decided to lay siege to Damascus. Despite the siege ending in disaster, the Templars bore most of the blame rather than the Hospitallers. The influence of the Hospitallers in the Holy Land continued to expand, with Raymond's leadership being pivotal in numerous military operations. After the failure of the Second Crusade, attention returned to the fortress at Ascalon, held by the Fatimids. During the siege of Ascalon in 1153, a truce was called to allow both sides to bury their dead. Despite numerous setbacks, including a severe defeat suffered by the Templars, Baldwin III of Jerusalem was persuaded by Raymond and the Latin Patriarch Fulk to persist with the siege. Renewed efforts led to the Muslims' capitulation on August 19, 1153, with the city evacuated the following day. In 1156, Nur ad-Din and his brother Adin decisively defeated a Hospitaller force near their stronghold at Ket el-Marab, close to Banias. After Baldwin III broke the peace in February 1157, Humphrey II of Toron, the master of Banias, sought Hospitaller aid to confront the Zengids. Despite their participation, they were defeated near Ras Alan on April 24th, leading to the capture of Banias on May 10th, 1157. Nevertheless, they managed to retain control of the castle, which Baldwin III resupplied to maintain a strong garrison. In a subsequent battle at Jacob's Ford on June 19th, the king was routed but managed to retreat to Safed and then to Acre. Nur ad-Din abandoned his assault on Banias and returned to Aleppo, fearing an attack by Kilij Arslan II. Humphrey eventually sold Banias and the castle to the Hospitallers. Under Raymond Dupuy's leadership, the Knights Hospitaller received substantial support and resources to defend the Holy Land against encroaching Muslim forces. Raymond's tenure saw a surge in donations to the order, particularly from the county of Tripoli, strengthening their financial position. His leadership also marked the acquisition of the Hospitallers' first Crusader castles, solidifying their military presence in the region. Alongside material support, the Hospitallers secured numerous privileges and exemptions from the papacy, granting the order independence and freedom from diocesan authority. These privileges provided the Hospitallers with the financial resources and autonomy necessary to effectively carry out their mission. Notable strongholds established during Raymond's leadership included the Crac des Chevaliers, a formidable fortress in Latakia, occupied by the Hospitallers from 1142 to 1271, and Margat on the Syrian coast, held from 1186 to 1285. These fortifications played a crucial role in the Hospitallers' defence of the Holy Land and symbolised their military strength and dedication to their mission. Raymond du Puy's death around 1160 marked the end of an era for the Knights Hospitaller. He was succeeded by Auger de Balben, who served briefly as Grand Master until his disappearance in 1162. Following Auger's disappearance, Gilbert of Asselli, a French knight, assumed the position of Grand Master in 1162. Under his leadership, the Knights Hospitaller underwent significant militarization, acquiring territories in the county of Tripoli and the Principality of Antioch. Gilbert played a crucial role in securing regal rights for the order, granting them military privileges above common law and effectively establishing a form of quasi-sovereignty. One of Gilbert of Asselli's notable actions was his involvement in the Crusader invasion of Egypt, where he persuaded Amalric of Jerusalem to declare war on Egypt to expand the kingdom's territories. However, this campaign suffered a significant defeat at the Battle of Harim in 1164, resulting in the capture of Raymond III of Tripoli and the loss of Banias to Nur ad-Din. In 1167, Gilbert joined another campaign against Egypt, but the Crusaders faced another defeat at the Battle of Al-Baben. Despite these setbacks, Gilbert's leadership marked a period of military expansion and strategic engagement for the Knights Hospitaller, cementing their role in defending the Holy Land and pursuing territorial gains. Gilbert's strong belief in the conquest of Egypt led to his active participation in several military campaigns aimed at securing territory in the region. In October 1168, he provided substantial military support to Amalric's campaign, offering 1,000 knights and 2,000 Turco-Poles in exchange for Bilbais and its surrounding territories. Although they initially succeeded in capturing Bilbais, the campaign ultimately failed due to Egyptian resistance and the formation of a new alliance against the Crusaders. Following this failure, Amalric sought assistance from other Western powers, sending an embassy that included the Grand Commander of the Hospitallers, Gilbert of Asselli, to plead for support. Despite their efforts, the embassy returned empty-handed after 2 years of fruitless negotiations. In the fall of 1169, Amalric launched yet another campaign against Egypt, supported by the Emperor and the Hospitallers. This expedition also ended in failure, leading to widespread criticism of Gilbert for the order's misfortunes. Accusations against him included neglecting the hospital's charitable mission and effectively ruining the order. Consequently, Gilbert resigned from his position as Grand Master, but later reconsidered his decision. His resignation ushered in a period of instability within the order's leadership, with Gaston de Merolles serving a brief and unremarkable term as his successor. Internal conflicts persisted, highlighting the challenges faced by the Hospitallers during this turbulent period. In 1171, Jobert of Syria succeeded Gilbert as Grand Master and played a crucial role in securing the release of Raymond III of Tripoli, who had been captured by Nur ad-Din in 1164. Jobert's tenure also involved further military engagements, including campaigns against Saladin. the Sultan of Egypt and his forces in Homs. Overall, Gilbert's ambitious military endeavours and subsequent resignation underscored the complexities of the Hospitallers' role in the Crusades and the challenges they faced in balancing their military duties with their charitable mission. Roger de Moulins assumed the position of Grand Master of the Knights Hospitaller following Jobert's death in 1177. Under Roger's leadership, the Hospitallers emerged as one of the most formidable military organisations in the Kingdom of Jerusalem, marking an even deeper departure from their original mission of providing medical care. One of Roger's early actions was to encourage Baldwin IV of Jerusalem to vigorously prosecute the war against Saladin. In November 1177, Roger himself participated in the pivotal Battle of Montgisar, where the forces of the Kingdom of Jerusalem achieved a significant victory against the Ayyubids. However, the Hospitallers' military focus under Roger prompted Pope Alexander III to remind them of their original charitable mission. Between 1178 and 1180, the Pope issued a bull calling the Hospitallers back to the observance of the rule established by Raymond de Puy. The bull forbade the Hospitallers from taking up arms unless attacked and emphasised their duty to care for the sick and impoverished. In 1184, Roger de Moulins embarked on a European tour alongside Arnold of Torroja, the successor to the Templar Grand Master Odo de Saint-Amand, and the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, Heraclius. Their mission was to appeal to Pope Lucius III for support for a new crusade. However, the death of Baldwin IV of Jerusalem in August 1186 triggered a succession crisis. Roger opposed the ascension of Sibylla of Jerusalem and Guy of Lusignan to the throne. Initially, Roger refused to hand over his key to the royal treasury upon their coronation in 1186, placing him at odds with influential figures like Reynald de Chatillon and Grand Templar Master Gérard de Riedefort. At the end of 1186, Reynald de Chatillon violated the truce with Saladin by capturing a caravan travelling from Cairo to Damascus, which included the sister of an emir. In response to this provocation, the barons convened in Jerusalem under Guy de Lusignan on March 27, 1187, demanding reconciliation between Lusignan and Raymond III of Tripoli. Roger de Moulins, Gérard de Riedefort, Archbishop Josias, Balian of Ibelin, and Reynald de Grenier were tasked with negotiating with Raymond III in Tiberias. However, their diplomatic efforts were derailed when they unexpectedly encountered Muslim troops, leading to the ill-fated Battle of Cresson on May 1st, 1187. Roger de Moulins was killed during the battle. Following Roger's death, William Borel assumed the role of Grand Master ad interim. Borel, who had briefly served as Grand Commander in 1187, then appointed Armengol de Asper as his successor as Grand Commander. On July 12, 1187, Saladin laid siege to Tiberias and successfully captured the city. Despite the advice of Hospitaller commanders, Guy de Lusignan, influenced by the Templars, led by Gérard de Riedefort, decided to attempt to rescue the city. This led to the Battle of Hattin on July 4th, 1187, where an army led by Raymond III of Tripoli was ambushed by Saladin's forces. The Templars and Hospitallers could not withstand the assault, resulting in a devastating defeat for the Crusaders. Many captured Hospitallers and Templars, including William Borel, were executed by Saladin, with only Gérard de Riedefort spared. Among the notable casualties was Hospitaller Knight Nicosui of Sicily, later venerated as a martyr. The captured nobles, including the king, were taken to Damascus and held for ransom. Reynald de Chatillon, however, was personally beheaded by Saladin garrison of Hospitallers and Templars under the command of Balian of Ibelin, the highest-ranking lord in Jerusalem at the time. On October 2nd, 1187, Jerusalem surrendered and the Christians were allowed to evacuate in exchange for a ransom. The evacuation occurred in 3 groups, with the Templars leading the first, followed by the Hospitallers, and finally, the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, Heraclius, and Balian of Ibelin. They were escorted to the borders of the county of Tripoli, while 10 friars remained in Jerusalem to care for the wounded and sick. Despite the fall of Jerusalem, the Franks continued to face attacks at the siege of Tyre. Saladin personally reinforced his troops during the siege, which began on November 11th, 1187. Armengol de Asper led the Hospitallers in the defence of Tyre alongside the Templars. By early 1188, the Franks had lost control of Judea, Samaria and Galilee, but managed to hold Tyre. The imposing fortress at Markab, deemed too formidable to attack, was left untouched by Saladin. Meanwhile, the Hospitallers had been holding Belvoir Castle against Muslim forces since August 1187. On January 2nd, 1188, they launched a successful attack on the besieging forces, resulting in the death of Saladin's general, Saif al-Din Mahmud, and capturing a substantial cache of arms. However, to the east, beyond the Jordan River, Aladilda, Saladin's brother, attacked Crac des Chevaliers and Montreal castles, both of which surrendered by the end of September 1188 due to lack of supplies. Additionally, the siege of Safed ended with the capitulation of the Templar castle on November 30th. The Hospitallers continued their defence at Belvoir Castle until January 3rd, 1189, when they were forced to surrender due to famine. In late 1189, Armengol de Asper resigned as Grand Master, creating a temporary leadership void until Garnier of Nablus was elected as his successor in 1190. Garnier, who had been severely wounded at the Battle of Hattin in 1187, went to Ascalon to recover from his injuries while awaiting Richard the Lionheart's departure for the Third Crusade. Garnier arrived in Messina on September 23rd, where he met with prominent figures such as Philip Augustus and Robert de Sablé, who would soon become the Grand Master of the Templars. Among the Hospitallers accompanying Garnier was the Italian Ugo of Cremona. Departing Messina on April 10th, 1191, Garnier sailed with Richard's fleet, anchoring at the port of Limassol on May 1st. Despite Garnier's mediation efforts, Richard subdued the island on May 11. The fleet set sail again on June 5th, arriving at Acre, which had been under Ayyubid control since 1187. In Acre, they found Philip Augustus leading a prolonged siege to dislodge the Ayyubids. The Crusaders eventually triumphed, and on July 12th, 1191, the Muslim defenders surrendered. On August 22nd, 1191, Richard marched south to Jaffa, with the Templars forming the vanguard and the Hospitaller physicians at the rearguard, accompanied by an elite force ready to intervene as needed. At the beginning of the Battle of Arsuf on September 7th, Richard faced intense pressure from Muslim forces. Garnier's knights, positioned at the rear of the military column, endured severe attacks. Garnier rode forward to persuade Richard to launch an attack, but Richard initially refused. Eventually, Garnier and another knight charged forward, prompting the rest of the Hospitaller force to follow. Despite disobeying Richard's orders, Garnier's actions significantly contributed to the victory, and Richard ultimately signalled for a full charge, breaking the enemy's ranks. Thus concluded the Battle of Arsuf, marking a pivotal moment in the militarization of the Knights Hospitaller. The events following the Battle of Arsuf highlight a transformative period for the Knights Hospitaller, as their evolution from a charitable organisation into a formidable military force reached its zenith. Garnier of Naples' decisive actions at Arsuf exemplify the bravery and strategic acumen that became the hallmark of the Order's members. The Hospitallers' unwavering commitment to their mission, even in the face of overwhelming adversity, underscores their pivotal role in the Crusades and the defence of the Holy Land. As the dust settled on the battlefield, the legacy of the Knights Hospitaller was solidified, not just in their military prowess, but in their enduring dedication to their foundational principles of care and protection. The confluence of their martial and charitable endeavours create an enduring legacy that would influence the structure and operations of military orders for centuries to come. The story of the Knights Hospitaller is a testament to the resilience and adaptability of an order that navigated the complexities of medieval geopolitics with a steadfast commitment to their cause. Their legacy continues to inspire, a reminder of the enduring power of faith, courage, and unwavering dedication to one's principles, even in the most challenging of times.